Cooking with Juicy James.
This is Texas style smoked barbecue chicken with pawpaw beans. All right, the first step we're gonna take here is called brining the chicken. That is basically done the day before. You just wanna take a large pot and you're gonna add water and then a bunch of salt. You're gonna stir that to combine and then just allow the chicken to sit in the salt overnight. And it's science. I can't explain it to you how it works, but it pretty much guarantees juicy chicken. So that's how I always do my chicken. You can do it with any poultry or even pork. We've got the brine solution already, so we're just gonna go ahead and start adding the chicken piece by piece. And once we get all the chicken put in, we are gonna cover it and just leave it in the refrigerator overnight. We've got all of our chicken that was brined overnight taken out, and now we're gonna start to dry it and then put on the dry rub before we put it on the grill. One of the reasons why you want to pat the chicken dry is so that the dry rub will stick the chicken better. So I've got about 10 pounds of chicken quarters here, which is how we like to do it in Texas, big old barbecue. And I'm gonna use all kinds of different rubs. So there's not one specific. I'm gonna use my Carthage seasoning as one. I've got Berber, which is a Ethiopian spice that a nice lady from church gave to me. I've got a fajita seasoning. We've got a hog seasoning. And then we got a Nebraska steakhouse seasoning. I'm gonna use them, probably 2 or 3 on each one of these chicken quarters. And we're gonna get underneath the skin. Now, one helpful tip you wanna know is have a dry hand and a wet hand. The wet hand is the one you're handling the chicken with, and the dry hand is the one you're applying your seasoning with. So you wanna get in underneath the skin, and you wanna get all of the meat that you can. But I just want to give you a tip. Now, when you're doing the dry rub, you really want to, don't be shy. Get down in there, underneath that skin, all the way down. So that way that the dry rub can penetrate all the way down. And don't be shy with the seasoning on the dry rub either. That's one of those things. People are very particular about brisket, but you want to be able to taste the brisket, the meat. But with the chicken, let's just let her rip. And you want to get the front and back, and then you want to get even the skin a little bit too. So that's how we're doing. So we got the dry rub on the chicken, and I've got the grill preheated to 300 degrees. I'm going to be using pellets today, but I'll tell you teach you how to do it on charcoal or gas grill as well when we get out there. But we're gonna be using mesquite and pecan pellets. You see my grill set up. So we got the charcoal one. It's from the OG PawPaw. He made that himself, he's a welder. And you can see I got a double barrel. So this one over here on the right is actually a propane. And then I got the pellet grill over here. And the pellet is at 290 on its way to 300. So we should be good to do it. So at 300 degrees, you're going to want to smoke your chicken quarters for 1 hour and 45 minutes. I would do the first half for about 1 hour and then flip it and do the second half for 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and get them put on. I like to I'm going to do the skin side down first. I like to put all of the same flavors on one side so I know which ones were which. These guys are juicy. And you want to allow a little bit of space in between each thigh so that they can cook evenly. All right, as the chicken is smoking outside, I'm gonna go ahead and get the pawpaw beans started. Now this is a recipe that comes from my pawpaw, rest in peace. And this is a great way to keep people's legacy alive through food. So I wanna go ahead and show you how to do this. It's pretty simple. We use ranch style beans. Hopefully you have them where you're from, but that's definitely how we do them in Fort Worth. Ding. And they're pretty good. So you just want to use a medium large can. This is a 26 ouncer We're gonna put it in a small crock pot, juice and everything, all them beans. And then we also have a thing in Texas. I'm pretty sure it's everywhere, I'm not sure. It's called Rotel. Rotel, everybody, even the mayor. Reach up in the sky for the Rotel layer. You're gonna use a whole can of that as well. And once we get that in there, I usually chop up about a quarter of a yellow onion. Toss in there, we're just gonna put it on low heat and let it sit there and do its thing. So then you got like a nice barbecue side to go with your chicken. It's super easy. So just put it on low heat, give it a good stir, and then it'll do its thing. It's actually surprisingly good. It's got a little bit of heat. You might want to throw a little bit of salt and pepper in there. See, just give it a taste, see if it needs any extra seasoning to your liking. Now, if this was a true to PawPaw recipe, he'd probably throw in a can of Miller Lite or something. And it didn't really make it taste that great, but you know, it was all right when you're 13 drinking or eating beans, having a little fun with PawPaw. So, anyways, these are PawPaw beans. So he was from a small town in North Texas called Grayford. He would always tell people that I'm from Grayford, where the men are men and the sheep get nervous. And that's the kind of guy he was. So these beans are pretty darn good. If you're gonna cook the barbecue chicken on propane or with the charcoal, you're gonna want a good heat and usually do it about 45 minutes. You just gotta make sure that the internal temperature of that chicken's 165. So it's usually 25 minutes on one side, 20 on the other, and then put a glaze on it, let it heat up and get a little bit sticky at the end. All right, so it's been about an hour, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip these birds. I'm gonna take the ones in the back, move them to the front, the ones in the front, move them to the back, just in case there's any hot spots. And then we're gonna do it for another 45 minutes, and then at about probably the last 10 minutes, I'll come out here and I'll give it a nice coat of barbecue sauce. All right, so all of the chicken is reading at 165. Just gonna go ahead and go through and coat all of the pieces on one side, that's the upside, with some barbecue sauce, and let it start to glaze, and then we'll be able to pull them all off. The PawPaw beans are slowly warming up. I'm gonna go ahead and, I've been stirring them occasionally, and I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh pepper to it. I think there's plenty of salt, you don't need to add any more of that. And those should be good too. They should be good by the time the chicken comes out. Okay, here's our Texas style smoked barbecue chicken. All done and ready to go. Just gonna get the PawPaw beans going and we'll serve it up. Now, if you're cooking a bunch more like we are, we're just gonna go ahead and dome this with some aluminum foil and let the rest of it cook. And you can just set it in your oven and it should stay warm. Here we go, Texas style smoked barbecue chicken with PawPaw beans. Let's see what the stingy Italian has to say about this one.